Hello, curious. Who around here is anxious to know what will happen to Trump after his time as president is completely over? Today, we'll tell you what's ahead in the future for the former president of the United States of America, who in recent years has been quite controversial at times during his presidency and who was criticized by many and accepted by others. Which addresses will he make his permanent residence after his job at the White House is over? What are the most exuberant and luxurious properties of the president? Will he have a problem with reporting his income? And what will happen to Barron and Melania? Stay with me until the very end, but before we continue, don't forget to turn on the notifications and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. Donald Trump comes from one of the wealthiest families in the United States, yet what happened to all the assets he has during his tenure? According to the research conducted by New York Times, the Trump Organization's hotels and resorts received $12 million from 60 clients doing business with the government during the first 2 years of his presidency. But it's not that something strange had happened. We all know how the business world is. Professional relationships are important as they keep the doors open to increasing your business, and it is one of the things that everyone close to the elite perfectly knows, since many investors want to be close to them, so it cannot be said that influx of business was there after he took up office, as those partnerships were surely there before and most likely only strengthened with time. And of course, there were all kinds of events around Trump's main properties, as far as the commercial side of things is concerned. Here we are obviously talking about the most important hotels he owns: Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., the Trump National Doral and Mar-a-Lago Club in Florida, and the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey, to mention but a few. And apparently he also has a choice of where he will live, since without any problems whatsoever, he can settle in any of the aforementioned locations. And we know that more than one of you expected to hear about the millions of dollars in income which were used to pay for his presidential campaign. Thanks to all this, all government contracts were increased and even more money was raised than during the Obama administration. Needless to say, Donald Trump owns only $122 million in property, but appearances are deceptive, as allegedly his debt is also in the millions, although at this time it is not clear if these alleged debts are settled, since these have been difficult times and the tourism sector, from which most of Trump's income comes, was also affected. Add to that the fact that he now has a long-term audit where he is being investigated for tax refund for the modest amount of around $72 million. That sum has amounted back in 2019 when he was president, and we know more than one of you will probably be thinking about the last fact. Well, we'll see what other facts will come to see the sun. And well, after talking about all these impressive figures, President Trump, before he had left for the White House, was living in his penthouse in the Trump Tower in New York City on 5th Avenue. It has become famous for its lavish interior design, since it has marble and golden details, 3 floors and even an entire floor for his youngest son Barron. What will happen to it all, curious? Stay patient, because we're getting to it. Continuing with the above, the modest penthouse was created by Angelo Dogna, who was also the designer for the wealthiest people of these times, for example Diana Ross and Ralph Lauren. However, when the tycoon was bored of his luxurious penthouse, he also had the option to flee the city to his garden-filled mansion in Bedford, New York, which is called Seven Springs. And if you still find the options that Trump has of his residences modest, then you'll be surprised with the fact that since with the present value of $24 million, this little suburban hideaway was originally built for a millionaire Eugene Meyer in 1933, according to the Washington Post. In Virginia, he has 2 other houses near the Trump National Golf Club in Washington, D.C. He lends those residences to the members of the Trump Organization and their guests. Florida is not so far behind, since there he also owns several houses in Palm Beach, just in case you feel like going to the beach for a weekend, you know. We're mentioning the major ones here, so it's safe to assume that the last thing Trump is worried about is where he will live once he leaves the White House. Although knowing the personality of this controversial president, what would happen if he did not want to leave the White House for any of his mentioned properties? Since Donald Trump has reportedly said that Biden winning the election was a complete hoax, and if you don't want to take my word for it, then he dedicated more than several tweets to that above statement. Despite him most likely not wanting to give up his position and the residence that he got so comfortable in, he doesn't have many options left, and come next year he will have to say goodbye to his beloved White House. What we know at the moment is that Trump is still in the Washington, D.C. residence, but it seems that he will not return to the New York skyscraper and he will go somewhere more tropical. Since Donald and the First Lady Melania filed for separate declarations of domicile, could it be that divorce is on the horizon? If you want to know more about their love story, then be sure to click on the link above. Allegedly, he is going to head to his residence in Palm Beach, which was mentioned above, where he will be surrounded by luxuries. But regardless of the above, what made him decide not to return to New York City skyscrapers? It is not yet known for sure, although speculation points to a game between politics and money. Trump's plan could have been quite predictable for those involved in finance and taxation. Trump has been quite active on his Twitter saying goodbye to the city. You see, he who says goodbye a lot has little desire to leave. But not only does he post saying his farewells, but also to make it clear that he has not been treated well, perhaps because he was asked to do his tax returns, which allegedly he hasn't done so far. What could his move to Florida mean? A huge state income tax savings. Now, it makes a lot of sense that he wouldn't want to stay in New York City, right? Because as we mentioned at the beginning, their income is impressive, and although the rates may not be very high, on a tax basis it can mean millions for Trump. Now, for those who have knowledge in those areas, it is not at all a surprise. We will see if this plan will work, since it is said that there are no permits to live in the property in Palm Beach for an indefinite period of time, not even for Donald Trump. In addition to that, several locals are not happy with this news because they accuse his helicopter of making too much noise as well as damaging their landscapes. Although it's really unlikely that the city of Palm Beach will issue an eviction notice if he decides to live in Mar-a-Lago full-time, it could revoke the club's operating license, which means it would no longer be able to generate an income. So far, we know that Melania and Donald will be separated, but what will happen with his kids, who, if you want to know more about, then be sure to click on the link above. Though there is speculation that Trump's children will still be a part of politics to secure his dynasty, there are many who are inclined to continue moving the family fortune. Barron will be under the tutelage of Melania. Tiffany will continue to live her independent life with her mother Marla Maples. One of the big unknowns is around Ivanka and her husband Jared. Many see her as her father's favorite and a natural successor in politics, and that she could start to pull strings to become a Republican pre-candidate in 2024, as she dreams of becoming the first female president of the United States. Her husband, who for the past 4 years has been implemented a peace policy in the Middle East, could continue those efforts from a non-governmental organization, but those are just pure speculations as nothing is official right now. Eric Trump will continue to work in a family business while Donald Jr. will try to preach politics. The only thing that is certain and probable about all this is that neither Trump nor his children will disappear from the eye of politics and from the decision-making process in the United States. Because of the financial strength that supports this family, they will always be taken into account, since it is thanks to the people with the great monetary value that the great economies move. Well, curious, which of these rumors seems most probable and real to you? Where do you think Donald will move as a permanent residence? Do you think his children will continue to work in politics? And how likely do you think it is that Ivanka will become the first female president of the United States? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next video.